Good morning and welcome to 101.7 KDNO's presentation of WyoToday Sports Live. It is Rivalry Week here. It's Rivalry number 2 as Lander and Riverton keeper of the goal tonight. I am joined by Baylor and Cody Beers as well as Ernie Over. All of our voices of either Riverton or Lander, minus Andrew because Andrew's in class. So if he's sneaking to listen, pay attention and do your work, Andrew.
That's right.
So we'll jump so we can get right to the big one. We're going to jump right into the scoreboard real quick of what's all's happened this week. Wyoming Indian defeated Wind River 3-0 in volleyball. Du Bois defeated St. Stephen's 3-0. Number 1 in 3A, Cody defeated 4A Riverton 3-0. And last night, Shoshone defeated Wyoming Indian 3-1. Only one game last night in football in Fremont County, and that was number 3, Big Piney paid a visit to Wind River, and Big Piney left victors 52-8. Today on WyoToday's family of networks, we have got a couple ranked on ranked matchups and 2 game of the weeks and a big game for Thermopolis as they look to stay undefeated. Thermopolis and Lyman will be on this channel at 6 p.m. That is a change. They changed some things about a week or so ago for the homecoming game. So they've got Lyman. Should be a victory according to the Thermopolis guys for Lyman. Lyman not as good this year. And then we've got number 2, Encampment, visiting number 5, Du Bois in 1A 6-man action. That is our game of the week. It will be on 99.1 KWYW at 2 p.m. That's 2 p.m. this afternoon. And then I'm going to, myself and Declan are going to try and rush down and go call Wyoming Indian in Ethity hosting Shoshone. And we'll see how that will go. Wyoming Indian looking to get a very bad taste in their mouth out from last week. They lost, they gave up 77 points. 3 touchdowns in about the first 7 minutes, and they threw 4 pick sixes. And then, of course, we've got the big one, and we do 2 broadcasts here. We have our Riverton broadcast. It'll be Cody and Baylor. That'll be 6 p.m., a pregame show, probably about 5:30, 5:15, something like that. Just depending on when everything gets set up and we can get live. And that'll be on 93.9 KTAK. And, of course, Ernie Over and Andrew Garcia with the Lander call will be over on 93.1 KFCW at about the exact same time. So we've got 5 broadcasts, 4 games today. It is truly Friday Night Lights, guys. And I'm just going to back off the mic and let y'all debate. And if y'all want to make a little bet between each other or things of that nature, of course, Lander coming in undefeated and ranked number 5. No, number 4, excuse me. Number 4, and Riverton coming in with 1 loss, of course, that to Cody at number 3. So battle of number 3 versus number 4. Arch rivals, keeper of the gold. Doesn't get any better than that.
Well, it's going to be a great game. This is probably one of the most exciting Lander-Riverton matchups in recent memory. I believe the closest game that I had when I was a player was we lost 21-17, I believe, in my sophomore year, but then it wasn't close after that. So tonight will be really competitive. Both these squads, I mean, really have I think shocked the world. I think Riverton was expected to do well this year, but Lander especially, new coach this year. I mean, it's just they've done really well, and I don't know, it's going to be exciting. And I know the. Is that still Bob Carey? No, that's the field house.
Bill Bush
Stadium.
Memorial Stadium.
Yeah,
Bill Bush Stadium, yep.
Yeah, it's going to be rocking tonight.
Well, Baylor, I'm surprised you forgot about that Lander-Riverton game 3 years ago, the one that was delayed. Oh. That was an overtime win when both teams scored. Riverton kicked an extra point, and Lander went for 2 and won the game by 1. So that was pretty good. I did a little bit of looking around through the schedule book or the record book this year, and in the last 10 games between these 2 teams, it's tied 5-5. Riverton's won 5, Lander's won 5. But in the last 5 games, Lander has the 3-2 advantage. Riverton has won the last 2. And looking at the stats this year, and I know Cody has done that, these teams are very well matched. I mean, the statistics are very, very close on almost all aspects. So this should be a real good one. The downer for Lander is that Braden Baker is out for the year. He was the leading ground gainer and the third leading ground gainer in the state this year. He had a knee injury in the Torrington game, in the first half of the Torrington game. So he's out for the year. But Cody West, his other tailback, is doing quite well in his stead. So instead of having two great running backs, Lander's down to one, and then a collection of other kids who can run the ball too. So it'll be interesting to see West versus Salzgeber tonight.
Well, we wish Braden Baker all the best. I got to know him during baseball season. One heck of a baseball talent as well, and his family. So we wish him all the best in his recovery.
Yeah, I think he's going in for surgery this week or next week, but they wanted to do it now so his baseball season would be he'd be available for that.
Well, the interesting things, I talked to Coach Jim Burton from Lander last night, did a little interview with him for our pregame show, which incidentally is going to start early tonight at 5:15 because we've got a number of things to talk about in this rivalry. But Lander is bringing the West kid. He's played fullback all year until the last couple weeks. Jim just looked me in the face and he said, if I could convince him to take one or two cuts like Salzgeber, he could avoid these big collisions. But he is more of a take the ball and run over people type of runner. And that bodes well for Lander's running attack because they've got the two all-state tackles, Caleb Hamilton and Gavin Romer. At practice the last couple nights when I've been watching, they've had two different guys posing as those two tackles. They're also getting back their tight end, Moffitt, tonight. And so Lander is about as full strength as you can get, minus Baker. Braden is a dynamic player who makes things happen. You'll hear Hunter Salzgeber and Blake Ganbine on the pregame show. They'll talk about it tonight. Both very good friends with Braden Baker, whose dad and grandpa, Art Baker, have a lot of connections in Riverton because Art was the longtime Legion baseball coach here, and Eric has been coaching over here for a number of years. So, these kids know each other. They don't know each other as well as you might think, but when they play baseball together, they become good buddies. When you spend a summer with someone in a bus traveling around Wyoming, you get to know each other, and you realize that you have fewer differences than you think, other than that 20 miles that separates you. So, but on the other side, Riverton with a huge opportunity. You win tonight. If you're Lander or Riverton, and you've got the inside track on that East 3A Conference Championship. And in the back of the coaches' minds, even though Burton talked about it a little bit in the pregame, but Lenhart will never do that. In the back of their minds, you win tonight, and you finish with wins in the rest of your two games, and you avoid that second-round playoff matchup in Star Valley. You get a chance to host one game for sure and possibly two. And then there's the rivalry, of course, which Lenhart's in his first 2 years here has gotten the best of Lander both years. But, you can throw out all the records tonight. It doesn't matter. It's one game for all the cookies, so to speak, and it's going to be fun. There'll be a huge crowd. There's not very many places for Riverton fans to sit, so if you want to come early and fill up the Lander side, go for it.
Well,
because you have to walk. You have to walk around the track. They're not allowing you to drive down. And I asked this specifically last night. Are you allowed to drive down and park on the other side? Well, you can, but you can't get through the fence. They're not going to open that fence. So if you come to the game tonight, you're going to have to park at the field house parking lot, and then walk in. They've kind of got a walkway now in with fence on each side so you can't cut or anything. You go in the entry there, and then you've got to walk around the track to get on the other side. So why not fill up the Lander side too if you're coming from Riverton?
Well, and 2 years ago, my wife went. Of course, I was calling a game, and 2 years ago when Lander was not off to a good start 2 years ago, and Riverton, new coach, but coming off not subpar type seasons, 1-win type seasons. It was packed, people standing all the way around the track. I expect tonight with ranked, the records, the excitement in both programs that if you get there at like 4:30, maybe 5, you might park in the Fieldhouse parking lot. Otherwise, you might be up and down the road on the side. I expect it to be packed. And depending on what happens with my game tonight, I may try and catch some of the game as well. It ought to be very exciting. Boy, Lander, Ernie, from 2 years ago when Riverton kind of got that off their back and got a victory after 3 in a row. Boy, Lander from that season to now, and Riverton from 3 years ago to now, you talk about two programs that have turned around in a major, major hurry.
Well, 3 years ago, Lander lost a lot of their kids. They had a seniors, and that first year that Jim Burton was here, he was winless. And then the second year, they qualified for the playoffs. They got 4 wins and unfortunately finished 4th in the division and had to go to Star Valley. And everyone knows what that's like. And this year, these kids have been together playing now 3 years in a row, and it's starting to show. We've got some interesting new wrinkles. If you remember that first year that Jim Burton was here, they were a run-oriented team. And now they've got pretty much a balance of run and pass, which has really opened up the offense for them. I was talking to Jim Burton Thursday. We had a nice conversation. And, the interesting thing, the extra wrinkle that's in tonight's game, it's senior night in Lander. This is their last home game. The next 2 are on the road at Rollins and then at Buffalo. So senior night is always, they have the longer introduction because all the players. And Lander's got a heap of seniors again this year. So it'll be interesting to see how the Tigers and Wolverines come out. And if you are a fan coming over from Riverton, there's plenty of seating on the far side. Not as much as you would like.
About 100 seats.
No, there's more than that.
No, there's not. They don't take care of visiting teams in Lander.
Well, in fairness, Riverton doesn't have the most vast visitor section either. And quite honestly, just because of the distance, it's usually not needed.
Well, you remember the old times at Tonkin Stadium, Cody, and Baylor, where the most popular place to be was on the fence around that Western Bowl. So Riverton fans are accustomed to standing and looking down in the bowl. Of course, we don't have a bowl in Lander like they do in Evanston. That's nice. You guys were at Evanston this year. That's a really nice facility now. They really fixed that up nice. But there's going to be plenty of room for folks.
And you'll have to stand probably if you're from Riverton if you show up at game time, and because that's a genuine lack of respect paid to visitors in Lander.
Okay, let's tone it down there.
You said to duke it out, so we're having some fun.
Let's tone it down.
This game, Kevin.
Ernie's knuckles are turning white as he balls up those fists.
They did build a press box on the other side a few years ago to put the visiting radio, and then they did put in bleachers there that handle about 150 people. So
I've never noticed. Of course, the last time I called Lander was 2 years ago. Was a soccer game there, and then of course I know all about going to Star Valley for the playoffs. Ernie and I 4 years ago, first round. Started out like 65 degrees when we were there, and it got down to like 19 by the end of the game. It was just a drastic drop.
The only nice thing about playing in Star Valley is the view. I mean, that is probably one of the prettiest football venues in the state because that Wyoming range is right there. You cross the street and there it is.
And they're the nicest people. I mean, they're very gracious hosts. Now,
Gracious winners.
You're going to be
They're not
gracious hosts when
losers.
you're
Right.
when you're up 60-7 and stuff like that. They grow them big down there, so their lines are usually huge.
Lander is a beautiful venue too, but
Yes.
if you sit on the home side, you really don't get to take advantage of it until the sun goes down. You get the sun in the face, and that's the beauty part about being on the visitor sidelines is you've got the sun at your back.
Yeah.
Until the sun drops below the sky. But the temperature is going to be nice tonight. It's going to be in the low 60s at kickoff, and it'll probably end up in the 50s by 9. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and make sure you drive safely. There's going to be extra patrols between Lander and Riverton, especially in the Hudson area. So
Speed trap.
make sure that you. Hey, be nice. Be nice.
You know about that Hudson route, don't you? Yes.
I actually do.
I know about the Shoshone one.
Make sure that you drive safely. There's no reason if you leave early after work to get there and enjoy a great football game.
Well, and not to jinx it, fellas. I was worried about it because the weather forecast is great, but every game that I've called in Ethity past 3 years, every single one has been 50 degrees as a high and raining the whole time. So I am in Ethity tonight, so hopefully the weather forecast doesn't change. Cody quickly goes to take a look at it.
No, it'll be the same. You'll have
Yeah.
good weather tonight.
It'll be
It's gonna
good weather.
A beautiful night.
I'm hoping the wind isn't too much of a factor for our first game, Du Bois and Encampment, because that's a huge game for playoff seeding. It's a huge game, 2 ranked teams as well. So we've got ranked teams in every single game we've got but one tonight, and we've got ranked on ranked in 2 of them. So, boy, what a difference a couple years makes.
Well, it's a big deal for Du Bois to get to host that game because that is a very long road trip for Encampment, about a 4.5-hour drive, as a matter of fact. So, Du Bois should be ready and ready to roll.
And for the Rams, it's one of those interesting things because they're small and they're 80 miles away. That still blows people's minds back from where I'm from, that the county's so large that you could take 2 hours or 3 hours to get across it. But for Du Bois,
I had a car like that once.
Yeah, maybe if you're walking.
For Du Bois, they're kind of a little bit undersung. And as far as when you look at Riverton Lander, like we said, great improvement. Wind River struggled a bit since they're runners-up at state that you and I called Ernie. Shoshone, since they won state and then got runner-up, a little bit more difficult times. Du Bois, for a school that size, granted they only play 6-man, but for a school that size, just seems to reload every single year, and they're almost always in that top 5, always a threat in the playoffs. And so kudos to them and their staff and everybody who goes into that. It's a fun game to call. For a 6-man school, the stadium, as far as the press box, might be the nicest in 6-man. It's small, but boy, it's well done, and it's really nice and kind of roomy and plenty of outlets and all the things that we want.
Yeah,
It's all about you, Kevin. It's all about you, that game. But
I wish.
But no, the Du Bois Rams, that goes back to the program that David Tremblay built in Du Bois.
That's right,
And David, who passed last year from cancer, his legacy lives on with that program because the Du Bois Rams were built by him, and they've continued to excel without him being there.
And we had the privilege to call his last game. That was over at the old field behind like Nana's and all that. And they had a huge spread. I mean, it's just.
I missed the old field at Du Bois because the press box was on the north side. And you looked right at the Wind Rivers, right on Whiskey Mountain and the forest there. It was one of the most scenic football venues in the state. Tongue River is another good example where they're right up against the mountains, and it's great. But now they look out on the Painted Hills, so little different view now from Du Bois, but a brand new facility there.
Yeah, and at the time, I know his closest friends and people knew how close it was getting towards his passing. But it was a very emotional day, that last game. You could tell we had no idea. We knew he'd been sick, but we did not know that it wouldn't be too long after that. Of course, his final years spent coaching his son, who was an absolute stud in six-man. So it'll be a good game. It kicks us off nicely, and then we end up with the keeper of the gold, and of course Thermopolis as well, and Shoshone, Wyoming, Indian. We got a lot of games. So now we're going to get into, as Cody's trying to rush me here. I don't know what's with that. We get into, we're going to go ahead real quickly and talk about Wyoming Cowboys. Cowboys, as close to midseason as a must-win as you can get against a very not good San Jose State team.
San Jose State has surprised a lot of people. They're off and on. And the last time Wyoming played them, they were on. And so it's going to be a tough game at Laramie. If you haven't been down to War Memorial Stadium yet, there are some fantastic new renovations that have been done there. The fan experience now is very good. Last week was not a very good fan experience. Fortunately, I got the stadium just before the hail hit, and there was ice on the field. It was just unbelievable cold and windy, and that hailstorm went on for about 20 minutes. It was pretty unbelievable. And I think Baylor, you were there?
No, I wasn't there.
No, you weren't there.
It certainly was a bizarre game. I mean, with the hail and everything else, and then
Yeah,
snowed
and-
a little bit and thundered and rained. And
Well, Wyoming gave the game away. I mean, they had, 5 turnovers in the game and two blocked punts for touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty much inexcusable. And I know they've worked on that this year, but you take away, and UNLV scored on 3 of the turnovers. You take away those turnovers, and it was an even game.
oh yeah, and it's been a disappointing year so far offensively for the Pokes, I think.
Well, they played 2 Power 5 conference teams, Utah and Colorado. Colorado's not doing so well this year, but Utah is doing great. They've only lost 1 game. I think they play USC tonight or tomorrow. But, the Cowboy fan experience, the interesting thing about the UNLV game, if you looked at the stats, Wyoming had like 200 more yards in the whole game than UNLV did. They just can't get the ball in the end zone.
Exactly, and that's been the issue.
That's been the issue
whole season.
Yeah, really.
Well, it's been an issue for a long time that the offense has been the issue. Defense has been outstanding, continuing to play Cowboy tough defense, and they're going to have to play it again tomorrow against San Jose. It's not a gimme game. Wyoming doesn't have a gimme game on its schedule. No. They've got to play well every game. Players were very upset after last week's game. Coaches were scratching their heads, which tends to make me scratch my heads at the coaches. When a coach says, I just don't understand what happened. Well, you got to look deeper, and that's concerning. So, but it's another week and a chance to get to 500 and even up in conference.
Last week Craig Bowl was in the press box because it was homecoming, and Bowl came back to visit his old haunts and had a very friendly reception. A lot different team than when he had it.
They have got to, as Cody, you've mentioned a couple times in previous weeks, you keep waiting for them to open up the offense, become less predictable, become less easy to defend, and they just don't do it. Now, the thought process was that with the new quarterback, that they might do that. Ernie, you all right? Okay.
Coffee went down the wrong pipe.
But they I don't know if it's they believe they can't, which could be a decision by the coaching staff, but they've got to figure out a way to put up offensive points and find at least some modicum of consistency on offense. Moving the ball is nice, but if you can't ever finish, it's not going to do you any good. So unfortunately, we are, because keeper of the goal, expected to run really tight on time. So fantasy moment, you can tune in next week for. I'm still bitter over the injury to Tyreek Hill. But so we're going to go right to our pick'ems, and here's where we stand last week. Cody with the 5-0 record, Baylor with the 4-1 record. I went 3-2, so our overall standings is Baylor is now firmly above 500 at 17-14. Cody at 19-12, myself at 21-10, and we'll jump right into it because y'all always complain, even though I pick them some first too. I'll pick the first one first. We've got the Ohio State Buckeyes traveling to Illinois. Of course, Illinois bouncing back very nicely against USC last week. But I'm going to go the Buckeyes just have too much. We'll go to Ernie next, our guest picker.
Well, I think Ohio State's probably going to get this one as well. They're a very good team, and Illinois has been inconsistent this year.
You know, I always wonder what's a Buckeye, but what's an Illini?
It's a weird little nut.
Yeah, I know, but
that you can't eat.
I always ask Kevin Quill that question. Just what the heck is a Buckeye? But
and
Buckeyes,
I think the Illini is a tribe.
The Buckeyes will win Saturday.
Yeah, I've got the Buckeyes as well.
Okay, next we go to a huge rivalry, and we don't PC it up here. It is the Red River Shootout, and it is, as we move west throughout the record books, it is the Oklahoma Sooners against the Texas Longhorns. That, of course, played in Dallas at quote-unquote a neutral site at the Cotton Bowl on the grounds of the Texas Fairgrounds. So, Baylor, who you got?
Yeah, I think, Texas fell out of the ranks, which was pretty shocking this last week. But I think Oklahoma just continues their dominance this year, and they take it.
I'm going to go with Texas. I think Arch Manning comes back and throws for 100 yards with 4 interceptions, but Texas finds a way to win it.
I was about to say, if Arch Manning's last name was Smith, he'd be a 2-star.
If you look at the stats between him and his 2 uncles through this period of their college careers, they're almost identical.
The difference, though, being that Eli and both Eli and Peyton had winning records. They didn't lose to Florida. They didn't get embarrassed by the Florida Gators, who are playing horrible
Texas
so
will
far.
win on Saturday.
I lived in Texas for 3 years, in Dallas for 3 years, and that's really a crazy week. And I've seen those games, and it is really no holes barred. But I think I'm going to go with Baylor. I think Oklahoma's going to get this one.
And I didn't know that. I lived in Dallas too. It is nuts. The fairgrounds on that day is just crazy. There's a reason they play it at noon because it's so crazy. And South Dallas, where the fairground's perfectly safe. Yeah. South Dallas, not so much.
Baylor and I are both very sorry you lived in Texas.
Oh, I love
Both
Texas. But I am with you guys. Mateer is supposedly back and going to play. Oklahoma's been on a roll. And, of course, Brent Venables is going to have a great defense no matter where he's at. I'm going Boomer Sooner, as much as it pains me because I'm not a big Sooner fan. All right, now we continue going towards out west, and we've got Arizona State at the Utah Utes. Ernie, who you got?
Utah's really tough at home.
I'm going to go with Utah, even though I think Dillingham's a heck of a football coach, and he's a player's coach. His players love him. But Utah's going to get this one in Salt Lake.
Oh, man, this one. But I was thinking about Arizona State, obviously got the great coach. But I think Utah at home, I think they just got to win this one.
Well, you know how I do it. If it's a toss-up, go with who's at home. So I'm Utah as well. I think Arizona State will put up a good game. They missed Scatabo, so he had one heck of a game last night, 3 touchdowns. And now we jump into the pros. Kind of a surprising one that is a team both with good records and both looking well. Of course, one winning on Monday night. We've got the Seattle Seahawks traveling to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Cody, who you got?
The Jags. Dewey Wingard, of course, University of Wyoming grad. Yep. Very good safety. He's gonna flat raise Kane with Darnold.
Wasn't his name Andrew Wingard?
Andrew Wingard.
Yeah, but his nickname was Dewey. It always has been Dewey.
Ernie, who you got?
Dewey.
I like Jacksonville. I mean, they had such an emotional win last Monday night. I think they're going to continue.
I am going with Jacksonville as well. I think at home, I'm not sure I buy. Seattle's got a good record. They played well, but I'm not sure I buy Seattle, especially that far away from home.
I think the difference, Seattle, their defense is not quite as good as Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville wins this one.
And the final one, and I'll pick it first, is Monday night, Detroit at Kansas City. Everything in my being wants to go with the Lions, but I think the experience of Kansas City at home, back against the wall to some extent. Who would have thought we'd be saying that not only about KC, but about Baltimore at this point in time? Backs against the wall. I am going with the Chiefs at home to... Jared Goff's always good for at least one Jared Goff game that just looks awful. So I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'll take the Chiefs in that game just because if they lose, the dynasty's over. And there's a lot of pressure all through Kansas, especially certain people in western Kansas.
Or Missouri, where Kansas City is located.
You know what? Kansas people absolutely love, and
we're
I'm
having a little
talking
fun with
about
you.
somebody, as you know, but Kansas City will win this game, and then they'll take a vacation and go to Topeka.
Baylor, who you got?
I'm with Detroit. It's over for the KC faithful.
As much as I think Cody's right, I'm going to go with Detroit because I want the dynasty to end. I'm tired of Kansas City winning all the time. They've been a good team. They've had a great run. They've got a great quarterback. They've got a great stable of receivers. But I think Detroit's time to rise.
Well, the weird part is KC, we're talking about their dynasty ending, and then with the Ravens, you're talking about a dynasty that never really began.
Right.
It's just weird. A lot of hype behind that team, and of course, a lot of interesting storylines all weekend long. Of course, maybe no more so than is Shedeur Sanders are gonna mime his way into problems.
He's close to starting for Cleveland.
Well,
one bad game, and he's going to be starting.
He's it's kind of weird because I always give Deion Sanders
Best
a lot of
quarterback
credit
on
for
that team.
character with his teams as far as grades and stuff like that. Well, and he might tweet out at us about this, but it seems like he forgot to do that with his son. Quite simply. I mean, I've never seen a more pouty, entitled quarterback. Publicly entitled in my entire life.
He'll be starting for the Browns by the end of the year.
I don't know. Kevin Stefanski this week said, we'll see if Shedeur Sanders will be our number 2 QB. That's what he said today.
Yeah,
this week
when it's
in a
not,
press
he's
conference.
a given. When Joe Flacco got traded, that's incredible. But of course, we've got all sorts of football this weekend on the network. Of course, on Sunday it'll be the Denver Broncos. I forgot who they're playing. Actually, I had to just thank
Sunday
you.
morning at
The Jets.
7:30.
7:30 in the morning.
You're in London.
So they're playing in London. So pregame will be like at 6-ish, and that'll be on 99.1 KWYW. So don't miss out on that on your way to church or on your way out to breakfast or what have you. Of course, Saturday we've got Wyoming hosting San Jose at 5 o'clock. Back-to-back weeks now that they'll play at 5 o'clock this week and next. Because I'm going next week.
Next week is at Air Force, and it's a
The following week I'm going.
kickoff in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, last week
back-to-back
was at
home
5
games.
o'clock, too.
So, and then the next home game's at 5 o'clock. Because we're going down to that one to see our daughter and whatnot, so we'll have fun with that one. The next home game, so Wyoming Cowboys in a bit of a must-win, and of course it all starts tonight, 2 p.m. on KDNO 101.7. This network right here. Number 2 Encampment visits number 5 Du Bois in 1A 6-man action. Right after that, we've got a quad broadcast of 6 o'clock starts. We've got Wyoming Indian versus hosting Shoshone at 6 on 99.1 KWYW, as well as the Du Bois game on that. And then we've got Thermopolis hosting Lyman at 6 o'clock on 101.7 KDNO, this network right here. And then at 6 as well, the big one for this week, the keeper of the gold, Riverton and Lander, join Cody and Baylor on 93.9 KTAK for the Riverton feed at 5:15 for the Hampton Inn Suites pregame show. And join Ernie and Andrew on 93.1 KFCW for the Lander feed, also at 5:15. Ernie, thanks for joining us for this Big Keeper of the Gold week.
I appreciate it. County rivalries, go Tigers.
Cody, Baylor. Of course, I know you want to get out your Go Wolverines.
Hashtag GBR.
Go Big Red. So for Cody and Baylor and Ernie, this has been Kevin Shields. We'll see you next week on WyoToday Sports Live on 101.7 KDNO.